Okay. Karen, you good? Good. Jason, good? Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Independent City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. and it stopped snowing for a little while. I'll let the record show that councilors are here except for Councilor Martin Willis, who let me know she was unable to join us tonight, and so she is excused. Council members, you have the minutes of February 26th and February 14th in your packet, and do they meet with your approval? I heard it. Was that a yes?
Yes.
That was a motion. Was that was a motion from Schwartzler
Yes, it moves to approve.
and somebody
Second.
second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Is there any public comment? See no one stepping to the microphone. Council members, without objection, I'm going to change the agenda tonight and reorder it a little bit. We're going to move new business up to the next items. We have a number of staff people and others who they live where it's going to ice up pretty quickly, and we'd like to get them in, out, and done without objection. Okay, we're going to move on to the liquor license renewals right now. Please, I told you we were getting to it.
Right, I will not slow us down.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Sergeant Gentino Banuelos, the Independence Police Department. I've completed a review of all annual liquor license renewal applications, as well as a review of the police reports related to the listed establishments. You should each have a copy of that staff report, which includes my findings. Does anybody have any questions?
Everybody okay?
I move to recommend approval of all the liquor licenses upon receipt of city fees.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Go, keep going.
The next one is for the business, the Inferno Restaurant and Tap House Divine Distillers liquor license. I have completed the required reviews of the applications and applicants. They included my findings in a staff report. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions? I appreciate the complete report. Everybody okay?
I move to recommend approval of liquor license request for Divine Distillers.
Second.
The motion second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Fisher, I think you have a couple of items. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for moving things up. It's about 8 inches of snow and snowing when I left my house this morning, and there's I think I'll be pushing snow with my Subaru tonight. Can you bring up the presentation for me? So tonight we have the wastewater rates and utility study. Steve Donovan is with me here tonight. And this is the same presentation we did at the work session. Nothing's changed from the last time, but we're going over that again, probably a little faster than the last go around, to give the audience at home a background of where we're at with the rates. Okay,
Keep going.
go ahead, go to the next slide. So I'll give a brief introduction. I'll be doing the overview of the 5-year wastewater capital improvement plan, the financial analysis and funding capacity of the city. And then I'll hand it off to Steve Donovan for rate analysis and neighboring community monthly bills. Next slide, please. So right now we have a CWSRF loan in the amount of about almost 7.3 million. This loan was for the I&I study, Riverview Pump Station, Recycle Water Use Facility, William Street Pump Station, which are all done. And we have the 9th Street Pump Station phase 1 we're working on right now. Our intent is to pay cash for the 9th Street Pump Station in this year and next year's budget and not draw any more on the loans, even though we have the ability. I'm trying not to use the loan money so that you pay interest on it long term. The next one is a CWSRF loan for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. That total is $10 million. And on February 15th, we were notified by DEQ that our application for that had been approved and they were going to put us on the statewide intended use plan. You have to be on that plan in order to get a loan. So we have to do some upfront work, get on the list. That goes through a public comment period. Once that's done, we can actually apply for the loan and start working on the project. We have had DEQ violations in the past related to recycled water and some others. We took care of the discharge portion of it where we were discharging out of season. The recycled water facility that we built, that took care of all of it. We don't have that problem anymore. And we have high inflow and infiltration into the sewer system. That's the groundwater and the rainwater getting in through rain drains and other stuff. That loads up the plant, dilutes the water, makes the bugs out there really unhappy. We're trying to eliminate that as much as possible. Next slide. So we did a wastewater facilities plan in February 2022, and what came out of that is our treatment plant has some issues with the effluent, biochemical and oxygen demand and total suspended solids. It has capacity issues with the headworks. They're too small and they're unscreened. So everything that comes into the sewer treatment plant goes right into the lagoons. And the age of some of the various equipment inside there and piping is in poor condition, just due to normal aging. That's a pretty caustic environment to be in. So over time, it does chew up pipes and get valves and other stuff. So the high priority treatment plant projects total 11.51 million. The 1.51 is what we're cash funding right now, which is a later approval with the biosolids removal project. But what we have listed in here is headworks, the balance of any of the biosolids removal, which we think will actually be lower, and the lagoon aeration improvements, and that will build our plant out to treat wastewater for the whole 20-year period. So we'll be able to continue to grow, and the plant, the processes that we're putting in the plant will be able to handle that. Next slide.
Gerald, is there anything negative associated with taking out that $10 million loan and not using the money?
No, it basically, it's like a construction loan with no interest or charges on it. You only accrue interest on it as you draw on the funds. So the less we have to draw on it, the better off we'll be. So the pie chart shows the breakout of the funding. There's about 1.7 and change in state grant money. Cash and future rates is about 3.48 million, and the SRF loan is about 10.11 million, or 10,011,000. Next slide. So financial analysis, as discussed before, we've made changes to the budget across all the utility funds and eliminated a lot of the transfers. We're now having staff from other departments who do work for Public Works directly allocating their costs into there. We can better track who's working in the different funds and how much they're working in the different funds. Makes it more transparent in the budget, and we'll see that over time. It'll get a lot easier to understand who all is charging, because sewer's like its own business, but I don't have a financial department in the sewer fund, so I have to basically take those services from the finance department. So I'm paying them to be my bookkeepers. And then the additional transparency that we've done, and you'll continue to see it change over time, is we're better breaking out what our costs are. So it used to be operation and maintenance for sewer. Well, now it's operation and maintenance for sewer at the wastewater treatment plant, the pump stations, the collection system. So we're able to identify how are we spending money, where are we spending money, how much do we need to focus more energy on keeping costs down in other areas. And then the sewer fund debt includes a share of the debt for city facilities, and a 2013 sewer refunding bond will be paid off in 2040, and the 2017 DEQ CWSRF loan that we previously described is what we have on the books right now. So the budget assumes that all of the existing capital will go towards the treatment plant improvements, biosolids removal, and the C Street sewer line. That's like one of our leakiest sewer lines right now. So we're getting that taken care of. SDCs are going to play a critical role in the funding as revenue comes in from development. But we're assuming that no development is going to happen. It's a very conservative approach. And the way we work it is that the money we collect for SDCs during the previous year, if we have capacity increasing projects that I have a loan for, but I can use SDCs to pay the contractor and the engineer, I'll use that money first, so I don't have to draw on the loan and cause more interest costs later on down the road. Okay. So, Pete.
Good evening and welcome to council.
Steve Donovan, 9600 Southwest Oak, Suite 335, Portland, Oregon, 97223. As we discussed, all of this information that we presented to you was presented in January at our work session. So what you see here in the rate analysis is the funding strategy. Now, we've broken it down into two loans, and the amortization and so on is pretty standard. But with the approval of the $10 million, and you brought up a good point, how do these loans work? They're like lines of credit. And as Gerald pointed out, you only pay for what you draw upon, and there's no commitment fee. I think some of you are realtors here, and you're used to a commitment fee on a construction loan. We don't have that. It's a very advantageous loan. So as this moves through the intended use plan, you will see probably paperwork in front of you April, May of this year of loan applications, and you'll be signing off on that. Go ahead, next slide. Now, what we've broken down here is we had anticipated for rate modeling purposes that we would have two loans, and that we've broken down into roughly chunks of 2.8 million and 7 million, call it 10 million. But since you've been approved for a $10 million project funding now, Gerald, depending on his procedure, because the reason we broke these out into two components is the projects at the wastewater treatment plant are procedural. There's certain projects that have to be done first before the next projects can be done. If he can move these projects quickly along, we can shorten up that time frame, and time is money. Time is absolutely money in this inflationary environment. So if we can bring that $10 million down to $9 million, we can come back to you and talk about a potential decreasing of the slope of the rate curve that we're presenting to you tonight. And we'll be able to have a better idea of that within the next 18 months. So stay tuned.
So is this different though than what we did at the works in the work study?
No.
So during the work, but you said Gerald knew on February 15th that we got approved for 10 million. So we don't have to go over the two loans, but we studied when the work study assumed the two loans. Is that right?
That's right. That
Okay.
was in January,
Okay.
January 24th, I think it was. And so now, what, 3 weeks later, we got approval, but, and we don't know. We simply don't know what the future will hold. It may be indeed that we're going to have to go out. And what we can do is, even though we modeled two separate loans, what we'll do is we'll use one $10 million approval and simply stretch it out.
Sure.
And the DEQ will allow that too, which for you folks in the banking industry, bankers don't like to stretch things out. They want to get paid yesterday. So this is another advantage of the SRF program. What you're seeing here is the rate profile. This is effectively the same rate profile we showed you in January. The 3.5% per year annualized rate increases that we're anticipating over the next 5 years. Levelized, regular rate increases are what we want to propose to you. I know we've heard this term where you're nickel and diming us. The problem is if we don't raise rates, the mountain gets steeper to climb every year we delay. Mayor, I think you said the costs don't go away. They're only getting higher. So we want to have regular, predictable rate increases that we can present to you. And that's the point of today's study. I think that's it. Thank you. What you've got here is the same chart that we showed you in January of monthly utility fees for water, wastewater, transportation, stormwater. And the new term there is called general services, cops, parks, general funds. More and more communities are using that orange slice as a dedicated funding source for their general government through utility bills. And as you can see, your rates, your monthly rates now and proposed are effectively in the middle of the pack of your peer communities. Go ahead, Karen. And that'll do it. Thank you.
Questions for the presenter, Counselor Joe?
So I remember at the work session, we were talking about, or I guess it was more of a presentation than a work session. But the 3.5% rate increase each year for 5 years, I remember talking about that. It was about $10 total increase by the end of the 5 years.
Right.
What I don't recall was the part about the city desires to increase its wastewater user charges annually by the rate of inflation. Because that's variable. So that was something I was,
So that happens at the end of the 5-year period.
then we
So-
just
so
start with
we-
whatever inflation is.
Yeah, we do the 3.5% to cover all of the costs and the loans. And then after that, we want to keep with inflation. So every year we'll look at what the inflation was in the previous year, and that will be the rate increase. So we're matching inflation and keeping at where the costs of goods and materials and everything else is, so we don't fall behind.
Can we do this where we take that part out and say, you know, the plan is for the next 5 years, we're going to do this and then reevaluate it? Because I think you said it was like 7.07% was the inflation this year.
Yeah.
So
for
that would be
20
each year
2022,
thereafter, it would go up that much.
7.07, but we're only doing 3.5.
Right.
Because of the adjustments and the changes we've made, we're gonna be below inflation.
Okay.
And our trajectory is to be down at 3.5%. Once that's done, then from that point on, the recommendation is to follow inflation. I don't know what inflation is going to be out there, but the one thing you have to remember is every year we will stop and look at the rates to see where we're at. Is it on track? Is it too much? Is it not enough? But right now, where we're looking at is the 3.5% is going to hold for the 5 years. And Steve talked about, depending on the timing and the interest rate and everything else and how things go with the construction of the plant, it could go down. Right now, I don't want to say it is. I want to say 3.5% is our best forecast for the next 5 years, which right now is.
Well, yeah, we
half of
need
inflation.
the money.
Yeah.
But is there, I guess, I feel like we're committing to whatever inflation is each year thereafter. That's what we are doing.
You have a choice. You can leave it in and then you're set going forward. You can take it out. And then from that point on, it's been my experience, very long experience. It's a constant fight after that. Well, what should it be? Okay, well, it was 5% last year and now it's 3% and now it's that. And every year I have to come back to you and say, okay, inflation last year was 6.5%. Next year it's 2.3%. Next year it's 4.5%. The common question that I get back is, why can't it just be levelized, or why can't we just let it go with inflation? So that's why I put that in there, so that you don't have to.
So 3.5 wouldn't be enough forward.
It may not be, but the thing is that if it's less, that would be the rate increase. So if it came in at 1.2%, it wouldn't be 3.5%. We would do 1.2%. Because I always look at it, what was it last year? And then project forward to July 1 of the beginning of the next budget year.
I don't know enough about inflation to know what it is each year. So can you tell me historically, is it up and down all the time, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, yeah,
So it's a gamble each year if we're going to be down or up or.
and I've actually seen it where it was 0.9% minus.
I think it's an expectation that people understand. I mean, the cost of eggs is based on inflation currently.
That's
Okay, I'm gonna go next question here. Go ahead, Counselor Roden.
I have the same concerns about leaving this up to inflation in 5 years. I don't mind the fight as long as it's good for the people of Independence. So if that's the battle we have to fight, I'm game. Let's do it. The question I have is, Why is this loan dependent upon a increased tax base? Don't we have enough revenue in Independence to get this loan without increasing?
It's not based on it.
That's not,
No, it's
No.
not based on taxes at all.
No.
It's based, the loan is based on the requested amount plus what the interest rate is and the term of the loan. How long is the loan going to be for?
And the pledge, when you take out a mortgage on your home, you pledge the house as collateral, right? The bank can take the house back. Under this loan with the state, you pledge the revenue of the sewer system. So you're pledging the rates. And at all times, your rates must equal a threshold as determined in your bond covenant. So we have to plug that in and model how much rate revenue do we need to meet both the debt service coverage, principal and interest, plus what's called a coverage covenant, which is a liquidity covenant. I'm not going to confuse you all on it, but it's programmed in such that it's all predicated on revenue, not on tax base, not on pledged assets, pledged revenue.
So the rate
So-
increase we need to get the loan.
Exactly
To get the
correct.
Okay.
Exactly
So when
correct.
we go
Must
to
have a rate
get the loan,
increase.
we'll already have the rate increase in place, which makes them happy on approving the loan, because that's the first thing they're gonna ask for. Okay, well, one of the documents you have to submit is this resolution saying that it's passed and the rates are there.
It's
and
not
ready to
only
go.
a request, it's a covenant and it's a contractual commitment that you as the city council are making when you agree to the good terms of the loan. And I mean, it's just like a mortgage, it's just a different pledge.
Additional questions for the staff? I appreciate you guys taking the time. I'm gonna let you sit for a moment. And is there any public comment needed to be made on this matter? I see no one stepping to the microphone. Okay, this is an action item.
I would be happy to move to adopt resolution 23-1577 and the attached February 2023 wastewater rate study financial report.
I would like to not have that section in
Well,
there about the.
hold on, let me get a second first and then we'll go. Yeah, I've got a second by Counselor Corr. Counselor Joe.
I think we should take out that part that says the city desires to increase its wastewater user charges annually by the rate of inflation. And just keep the 3.5%.
What
each
page
year.
do you have on that, please?
I'm looking at page 1 of the resolution.
Help.
it's the new page
The
they
new
just sent out,
new page 1. Thank you. I just wanted
Yeah,
to,
sorry.
and it's page 37 of the original packet.
okay,
I have it as page 1, sorry.
okay. So you'd like to remove that.
Yeah, and do the, after the 5 year of 3.5 rate increase, the city desires to increase its wastewater annually by inflation. I guess I want to take a look at that again. I mean, I might not be here, but
Yeah, I mean, if we could just strike that whole line, pretty much.
Well,
I
let's talk about that before.
would agree.
Other counselor, Ed,
I am in support of what Gerald is saying, that after 5 years, we need to tie. I don't think we will want to have this fight every year, and tying it to a known thing like inflation will help us level that process out.
Well, here's
go
my,
ahead, Counselor.
my discussion with it. This is a hot topic in Independence, our wastewater, our sewer, our water rates. And this is the first step in it increases we're going to be tackling on to our community in the next year. And this is the first one of many. And so I just don't see how we can sit here when we know this is this is a charged issue in our community. If we don't do our absolute best to make sure that the needs of the citizens are met, we're obviously in a place now, and Gerald, I think you've done an amazing job. So anything I'm saying right now, it has nothing to do with city staff. But I think we have in the past we're not prepared for this day. And so I'm really grateful that you're here to do this and get us to where we need to be in the future. But this is a big bummer for people in our community who are struggling to pay their bills. And so when we say that we have to increase this by this huge fee now, and we're just going to be adding more fees on later, I think it's in the best interest of the people of our community to have this fight. If it makes sense in 5 years to have it with inflation, let's do that. But I don't know why we need to make that decision today on that. If we're gonna go 3.5% and get this huge loan, then let's have that battle again in 5 years.
And just for clarification, if you do remove section 4 from there, the rate going forward would be set at the July 1, 2027 rate. It would just stay flat from that point on until we brought a resolution back to you to change it in the future.
I'm confused here, please. Okay, so we're leaving the 3.5% rate increase. Is that we're having discussion at this point. We don't have a motion here yet. We're just trying to get some clarification. So as after the 5-year period of 3.5%. Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was scrolling too far and I.
Okay. So we're only talking about what goes on after 5 years. Is that correct?
Correct. So once the rate is set for July 1 of 2027, if you remove section 4 from the resolution, the amount that's in the July 1, 2027 would be the set rate every year going forward. It would not go up until we changed it by resolution.
So it'd be 3.5% going forward.
No, it would be.
It would freeze at that.
64.28 for a fixed fee and 0 for use charge for residential, and commercial would be 64.28 and 287. Those dollar amounts would not change each year going forward. It would lock that rate in if you removed section 4.
Gerald, I'm not seeing what you're talking about, section 4.
Yeah,
This
we're
is section 3.
I think it's saying that it will end here.
So the new
Section
the
4.
resolution.
Oh, okay. It's at the bottom of that. with
Oh,
the graphic at the very bottom.
Okay.
Third page,
Got
so as the way it works is. If you take section 4 out, you're going to do the 3.5% each year for the next 5 years, okay? And if you take section 4 out, whatever amount that is, which is shown in the table, it stays flat from that point forward. It doesn't go up until you change it by resolution. That's the effect of what Councilor Roden is talking about. I just wanted to make sure you understood that it doesn't continue at 3.5%. It just stops.
Can we say it continues at just 3.5 increase until it's changed again? So at least there's an increase instead of being stagnant.
Well, then you can have a chance of being higher with inflation.
Than inflation.
If you don't,
Well,
wanna
don't we
deal
need
with-
it though? I mean,
Yeah, that's why I put it in. If you don't want to deal with inflation right now, you can take this out and deal with it in 5 years. If you don't want to deal with the inflation and chasing that in 5 years, you can leave it in.
It's not going to change anything. Even if we take this out, we're still 3.5%.
For the
So
next 5 years.
for the next 5 years, if we keep this in, we're still at 3.5% for the next 5 years. We just don't have, either way, we have a resolution that, well, we don't. We either keep it and it'll go to inflation, or we take this out and we have another resolution on it in 4.5 years and make this decision. It's not like it's going to go stagnant on us. We will have foresight to see this and be able to.
Gerald, aren't we in this predicament because we haven't been programming this out the way we should be programming this out? Okay.
I'm trying to save you from doing this again. So.
And we can always, at the end of the 5-year period, we can always say, wait a minute, I know we said inflation, but hold on, that's a huge number right now. And we have to figure out a course of action. But we don't know what inflation is going to be, but it is a known measure that people understand. I think most people understand what inflation is. And it's just a basis by which to measure by. It's not really a commitment. If we get to the end of this 5 years and inflation is 16%, God forbid, we can't levy that on the community. So we're going to have to do something at that point. But I think by putting it in, it puts us on a level playing field at the end of the 5 years.
if it's 1.5%, then you don't have enough money to do the things you want to do.
At the end of the
Yeah.
5 year, yeah,
And then what do we do?
We talk about it
I
again.
come back to
Yeah.
you with rate increases again.
So.
And the
And
rate
then, and
increase
then you're
would
gonna
be,
have a problem because people are like, wait a minute, you guys just passed this 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to get more money out of us because inflation's down.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't seem like the thing I want to tie it to.
Counselor Morton, you want to share any opinions at this point?
I do. I think the other side of this issue, yes, there's a money issue, and I agree that that's a hot button issue. It's always going to be. But I also want a working sewer system. I want to be able to know that we're treating our wastewater the way we're supposed to be treating it, and that it's going to be operational, and we're intending to pay for it and have it as a future system that we don't have to find in jeopardy all the time.
Okay,
have
so
One
please,
last question.
please do.
Gerald, is tying it to the inflation, that's the standard best practice? Is that correct? Okay.
that's why I wrote
Right.
this. This has gone through several revisions between me and the city attorney and Kenna to craft this, bringing all of our experience to the table, crafting this so that you really only have to deal with this once. And we'll look at, as time goes on, we'll look at, does it need to go down? Are we okay? Are we doing better than what was originally projected? I only want to come back to you really if it's going to go down. Nobody likes me coming back and say, oh, we need to do more. It needs to be higher.
Okay,
Gerald, I have one more question. I'm
please
sorry.
do a question.
Gerald, you said that, and your partner was discussing this, is that you're somehow going to work this magic where you get a $7 million loan and an $8 million loan. And now that we've got this $10 million loan, we're going to get this all done in a maybe shorter period of time, which means we're going to be, I know you said we're not going to be paying interest on this until we use it, but we're going to be using that entire $10 million. What will be our financial impact for the 2023-2024 budget, assuming we do get it all done in this very short window instead of the longer window?
I've already calculated that into the draft budget for next year. I've calculated this and I've calculated the beginning of the loan for the 2017 CWSRF and calculated, and with Steve's help, we put in numbers for there, assuming that we're going to be drawing on that loan.
Drawing how much? What is your assumption?
I don't have my table in front of me for the draft budget. I have fully in there that we're going to be paying for the 2017, the first year of the 2017 loan as it sits right now. But I don't remember off the top of my head what the amount is for this other one. One of the things I'm also trying to do is, as part of this, you're not required to with a loan, but you can pay the interest because it accrues. Like you take out that loan and you're accruing interest on what you borrow. One of the things that I want to do is be able to, whenever possible, pay that interest so that principal at the end doesn't grow. We don't just let it sit there and accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. So when we come out at the other end of it and we've locked that final number in, I want that number to be as low as possible. One of the things we've asked for the full 10 million. But one of the things we looked at too was the biosolids. The original projection of the biosolids may have been too high. So we're looking at bringing that cost for the biosolids down. We might not remove any in Lagoon 4. The one that's before you tonight is to remove from Lagoon 2 and 3. The last one is to remove it from Lagoon 1, and we'll do that as part of the Headworks project because, like Steve said, each one of those components are all tied together. I got to do the Headworks, clean out Lagoon 1. I got to discharge Lagoon 2 while I'm cleaning out Lagoon 1. Then I can put the aeration in and get the whole system up and running. So it's staged. So it's complicated.
Is it possible that, and maybe this would go to city manager, I'm not sure. Is it possible that is it possible we won't have enough money in the budget to fully draw out the loan in the amount of time you think you can get it done? Is it possible we will have to put this on hold because our budget won't pay for this?
Not if you do the rate increase. It assumes worst case scenario.
the sewer fund, the way that Gerald and Steve have put this together, and they've taken into account a worst case scenario. So like, it can only be better than what you're seeing. If they put together a worst case scenario. So if we become general in the water, it's a job.
Yeah, it's assuming that I'm not going to get any SDCs from development coming in, which the treatment plant project is SDC eligible. So I'm assuming everything's going to stop. Rates are only going to be the thing that we have to cover it. I know that that's probably not going to happen. I just can't forecast how much revenue is going to be in there so that I could potentially lower the rates. Because if I lower it, assuming this is going to be higher and that doesn't come in, now I'm back at you saying it's not 3.5%, it's 4%. I got to change the resolution all over again.
Additional questions for staff at this point?
One
Please
more.
do.
This council does have the authority in 5 years. If we enact this tonight, to come back and say, we don't like the way this is going on, we want to change our mind.
Yeah, as long as the coverage is in there for the loan that we've taken out,
Mhm.
yes.
So you had proposed a course of action. Did you want to make that continue, or are you comfortable with what is presented?
Don't we already have a motion on the
Not,
floor?
we have a motion, but there is a potential amendment and I'm giving.
Yeah, I still don't like that language.
Okay, so you were-
Because it's either, if we increase it,
I understand.
we have our money. If we decrease it, we're still gonna come back to the people and say, okay, never mind, we didn't like that plan. We didn't get enough, we need more money. You know what I mean? So either way, it's either we win or we win. I
Okay,
don't-
so what your motion is to remove section 4, is that correct?
Correct.
I would presume also the,
Excuse me?
also the recital, whereas this
Earlier on in the
in the resolution.
in the resolution.
Right, okay,
Yes.
so I have a motion to amend, removing section 4 and the related part in the whereas. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
I have a second. Okay, is there further discussion on the amendment to remove section 4? I don't think we should remove it, but that's a vote. Okay, all in favor of removing section 4, say aye.
Aye.
I have Roden and Job, and all opposed.
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 Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, and so that's 3 no's. And since Counselor Martin Willis is not here, that's an automatic no. So that's 4-2, and the motion fails.
No, that is not how that works. The city charter states that if every question must pass by 4 votes.
Right?
And so if a counselor is absent, the mayor may declare that person negative by absence. So
That would be a no. Because we had,
if you would like to,
yes, I'm declaring that no by absence.
okay.
So that is 4-2, no. So the motion fails.
But yeah, but it wasn't automatic. It's something that the mayor has to.
Okay, excuse me, I had to declare. I'd use the right words. So that motion fails. I'd like us to go to the main motion, please, to adopt. And if someone would like to move the recommended motion,
It's already on the table.
yes, it is. Is there additional discussion related to this? I hear no additional discussion. All in favor of approving the resolution and the documents related, signify by saying aye
Aye.
and oppose.
Opposed.
Okay, I have 3 yeses, 2 nos, and since Counselor Martin Willis is not here, I declare that as a no, so that makes it a tie vote. That means I get to break the tie, and I vote yes. Did I do that correctly, Karen? Okay, motion carries. Let's continue forward, please. I think you have the next one.
Yes, stormwater rate user fees. This was set back in 2005 with the fee structure for the base rate at a 3% increase every year. and an equivalent residential unit rate of an 8% increase every year. The fee structures haven't been changed since 2005. We have an upcoming stormwater master plan update, which would be followed by a system development charge update and a stormwater rate update. And what I would like to do with this resolution, I don't want to increase the 3% and the 8% in the upcoming year. My recommendation to you is that we only increase by inflation the base fee, leave the equivalent residential unit charge the same, which equates to a total of 10 cents per month on the base fee for every user. So instead of it going up 3% and the other one going up 8%, I only want to do the one increase based on inflation, which is a 10-cent difference.
Gerald, what is the difference between what we're seeing in hard copy than what we got in our packets? Is it just a legal review?
Yes.
That's different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just some language legalese.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Is ever okay? All right. Is there any public comment related to this? I see no one flagging me or stepping to the microphone. If someone would like to suggest action,
I move to adopt resolution 23-1578 for stormwater user rates and fees.
a motion,
Second.
second by Core, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Roden is opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving forward, Mr. Fisher, you get the third item tonight.
Contract work for the biosolids removal. This is the first part of the treatment plant upgrade. We sent out a request for proposals. This is very specialized work. We had companies from different parts of the country put together proposals. There's a lot of this kind of work going on right now in a lot of lagoons throughout the state and the country. We had 3 companies submit their proposals: American Process Group, Synagro, and Merrill Brothers. Those were reviewed internally and with our consulting engineer. The company that received the highest points on the proposal was American Process Group, and we're recommending that we move forward with the biosolids removal contract. I'd like to also add that they were also the lowest price.
Great. Additional questions about this contract approval?
I'm
Please go ahead.
looking for the addresses, but are any of these 3 businesses local companies?
American Process Group, I believe, is out of Washington. Synagro and Merrill Brothers are out of the Midwest, if I remember right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? This is an action item.
Move to award the biosolids removal contract to American Process Group in the amount of $1,573,954 and authorize the city manager execute the contract and any change orders within the approved budget.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're excused.
Okay.
Thank you. I recognize that you're heading out the ice. Going backwards, now we're going to go down to reports. And we're going to move briefly here. Since we last met, I had the pleasure of visiting with Congresswoman Salinas at her town hall, and I was the MC for that event. Several of us, Councillor Schwartzler and I, attended the COG annual meeting up in Newburgh, and that was the first time that group has been able to gather in a couple of years, and I had the pleasure of making a presentation there. Many of you saw the State of the Cities were rescheduled from today till next week here in the event center, and I continue to meet with legislative staff and representatives and senators talking about housing production strategies, some of the things that are being proposed. Well, things are fluid at this point. It's the legislature, and there's lots of movement there. So I just want to keep you up to speed. Let's go to council liaison reports, please. Councilor Roden, would you like to traffic safety, please?
Yes, this is our traffic safety meeting we had, and we discussed what I thought was pretty exciting. Two of our police officers went to training for additional DUI training and screening, and they're going to come back and teach the department what they've learned so that they can keep our streets safer. And I just really appreciate the police department and their effort behind that. There was a report from a citizen that would like to have a flashing crosswalk on Marigold, and which makes sense. That's off a gun club, but I guess in our strategy, we've already decided it's going to be at Northgate, but there is a plan to put some sort of crosswalk there. So that's great. We've changed the meetings. Our next meeting we are going to have is in June, and we are going on a field trip, and we are going to tour the city during the most congested time of the day to study traffic patterns and the flows and just see what we can do to make it better. So I'm pretty excited about where we're going.
Great, thank you.
I have a
Appreciate-
question, Council Roden. Marigold and what? Gun Club or?
Yes,
Okay.
Marigold Gun Club, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that the county is working on the gun club in Hoffman, that interchange there. And I think if I recall from the last meeting that I know the county's working to get that. It's a county project.
Yeah, I know the issue.
Okay.
Council Roden's referring to.
Yeah, I know, I understand. I get it.
It's a game of Frogger for kids right
Yeah.
there.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, Counselor Martin Willis isn't here to do historic preservation or planning commission. We'll catch up on that in the future. City manager report, please. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Are there announcements?
I have one.
Please do.
I would like to somehow propose to the city acknowledge Ethan Dunnigan, who just became a 5A wrestling champion for Central High School. His amazing accomplishment. And I just think it'd be so cool to have our mayor who used to wrestle and give him some sort of award and acknowledgement here during council. And also the Central High School cheerleading squad tied for first in the state. And I just think that would be so cool to have them in here too, and just acknowledge how hard they've worked and the schools worked and their coaches have worked, and just congratulations to everybody involved in that.
Thank you for your email related to that. I haven't had a chance to talk to the city manager about scheduling things like that, but it's always good to recognize young people for their successes. Additional announcements. Okay, I have one. It's somebody's birthday. And, you know, Karen Johnson is, yes, it's her birthday today. And I will sing happy birthday, and anybody else who wants to join in is welcome to join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Karen. Happy birthday to you. Cha cha cha. Without objection, we're adjourned.
She's a little pink. Karen, you're so awesome.
You don't